Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Learn, Apply, Repeat. I'm so happy you're here with us today.
Hey, everyone. Great to see you all. Enna, I have to ask, did you cook when you were a child? Did your parents teach you?
A little. I remember being maybe 9 years old and trying to make scrambled eggs. I was so proud of myself, but I put too much salt. My mom ate them very politely and said, "Delicious." She was lying, but she was very kind.
That is so sweet. A good mom always says delicious.
She really does. And today's story is about exactly that moment. A child cooking for the family for the very first time. A moment that is messy, stressful, funny, and completely beautiful.
Today on Simple English Talks, we have a warm and wonderful story. An 8-year-old girl named Rosie decides to cook dinner for her whole family, all by herself.
And by the end of this episode, you will be able to use sequencing words in English. Words like first, then, after that, next, and finally. These are some of the most useful words in English for telling a story, giving instructions, or explaining how to do something.
You hear these words every day, in recipes, in directions, in conversations. After today, you will use them naturally and confidently.
You will also learn 10 kitchen and cooking vocabulary words. And we have a very special learning section today. We are going to use sequencing words to describe a real recipe, step by step. Did you cook when you were a child? Or do you cook now? Tell us in the comments. We would love to know.
Before we start, did you cook when you were a child? Do you cook now? Tell us in the comments. And if you are new here, welcome to Simple English Talks. Please subscribe. We post a new episode every single week just for you.
Okay, our story begins on a Saturday afternoon. Rosie is 8 years old, and she has a plan. It was a Saturday afternoon in October. The kitchen smelled of autumn, warm and a little spicy. Rosie's mom was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, reading a book. Rosie's dad was in the garden, raking leaves. And Rosie, 8 years old, with paint-stained hands and a very serious expression, walked into the kitchen with a piece of paper.
A piece of paper? What was on it?
A recipe. She had found it in her grandmother's old recipe book the day before. It was a recipe for pasta with tomato sauce. She had copied it out in her best handwriting, with little drawings of tomatoes and pasta next to each step.
Oh, that is the most adorable thing I have ever heard.
She put the paper on the kitchen counter, looked at her mom, and said very seriously, "I am making dinner tonight. You don't have to do anything."
8 years old and already completely in charge.
Her mom looked at her over her book and said, "Are you sure?" And Rosie said, "I have a recipe. I have a plan. I am ready."
I love Rosie already. She is so confident.
She really is. Now, let's look at some vocabulary from this scene. The first word is recipe. A recipe is a set of instructions that tells you how to cook a dish. It tells you what ingredients you need and what steps to follow. Ingredients, that is our second word. Ingredients are the food items you need to make a dish. For pasta with tomato sauce, the ingredients are pasta, tomatoes, onion, garlic, olive oil, and salt. Third word, counter. A counter is the flat work surface in a kitchen. You prepare your food on the counter, you chop vegetables on the counter. Rosie put her recipe on the counter so she could read it while she cooked. Fourth word, chop. To chop means to cut food into pieces with a knife. You chop onions, you chop vegetables, chop. It's a sharp, quick action. And fifth word, simmer. To simmer means to cook a liquid over a low heat so it bubbles very gently. When you make tomato sauce, you simmer it for 15 or 20 minutes so all the flavors come together.
These are all very useful kitchen words. Recipe, ingredients, counter, chop, simmer. Say them with me once. Recipe. Ingredients.
counter, chop, simmer. Do you know how to make pasta? Have you ever made it? Tell us in the comments.
Now, Rosie went to the fridge and the cupboard and started taking out her ingredients, one by one. She put them all on the counter in a row. She looked at them carefully, and then she looked at her mom and said, "Mom, what is garlic?"
She didn't know what garlic was?
She had seen the word in the recipe, but she had never used garlic before. Her mom laughed and held up a small white bulb from the vegetable basket. "This is garlic," she said. "It smells very strong and it makes everything taste delicious."
And Rosie's reaction?
She smelled it, made a face, and said, "That is horrible. I'm not putting that in."
Classic. She put garlic in anyway, though, right?
She did. Her mom very gently persuaded her, and she was very glad she did. Now, let's stop the story and learn our grammar, because Rosie's cooking is about to begin. And cooking is the perfect way to learn sequencing words, because cooking always happens in steps, in order, one thing after another.
Sequencing words are words that tell your listener the order of events. They answer the question, what happened first? What happened next? What happened after that? What happened at the end?
Without sequencing words, a story or explanation can sound confusing. But with sequencing words, everything is clear, organized, and easy to follow.
Let's start with the first two, first and then.
First tells your listener what happens at the very beginning. It is the starting point, the first step. First, comma, then the sentence.
For example, first, Rosie washed her hands. That was the very first thing she did before touching any food.
Good hygiene is always the first step in cooking, and first signals to the listener, pay attention. This is where we begin.
Now, then. Then tells the listener what happens next, right after the first thing. First, then. We often use them together to show two connected steps. For example, first, Rosie washed her hands. Then, she read her recipe carefully from the beginning to the end. Notice then can come at the beginning of a sentence with a comma, or it can come inside a sentence. She washed her hands and then read her recipe. Both are correct. Both are natural. At the beginning of the sentence is a little more formal. Inside the sentence is a little more conversational. Let's practice. I will describe Rosie's cooking step by step, and I want you to listen for the sequencing words. Ready?
Ready.
First, Rosie put a large pot of water on the stove. Then she turned on the heat and waited for the water to boil.
Beautiful. Two clear steps. First, then. The listener knows exactly what order things happened.
Now your turn. Think of something you do every morning. Tell me the first two steps using first and then. Pause and say it out loud right now. Your turn. Pause and say it out loud. Use first I, then I.
For example, first, I turn off my alarm. Then, I drink a glass of water. Easy.
Write your sentence in the comments too. First I, then I. We will read every one. Write your morning routine using first and then. First I, then I. Post it in the comments.
Now, back in the kitchen, the water was on the stove. It was getting hot. Rosie was watching it very carefully. She had heard the expression, "a watched pot never boils," meaning if you watch and wait, time feels very slow.
A watched pot never boils. That is a very famous English expression.
It means don't stand there staring. Do something else while you wait. Patience.
And did Rosie listen to that advice?
She did not. She stood and stared at the pot for a full 3 minutes.
8-year-olds and patience. Not always a good combination.
So the water is on the stove, the sauce is about to begin, and Rosie had 2 things to do at the same time, the pasta and the sauce. this is where it got a little complicated.
Cooking pasta and sauce at the same time is actually quite a skill. Even adults sometimes find it tricky.
It is, but Rosie had her plan. And this is where our next two sequencing words come in. After that and next.
After that is used when one step is completely finished and you are moving to the next one. It is a clear signal. This thing is done, now we move on.
It is similar to then, but after that has a stronger sense of completion. The first step is finished, done. Now, after that, the next step begins.
For example, first, Rosie put the water on to boil. Then, she got out her chopping board and knife. After that, she chopped the onion.
3 steps. First, then, after that. Each step is complete before the next one begins. Clean, clear, easy to follow.
And next. Next is similar to then and after that. It means this is the step that follows. It keeps the sequence moving forward.
The difference is small but natural. Then is immediate, right after. After that suggests a slightly bigger pause or transition. Next simply means the following step.
In practice, English speakers use them fairly interchangeably. The most important thing is that you use them, because they make your English sound organized and natural.
Let's hear Rosie's sauce process using all 4 words we've learned so far.
First, Rosie peeled the onion. Then she chopped it into small pieces, with a few tears running down her face, because onions always make you cry.
That is universal. Every cook cries over onions.
After that, she put a little olive oil in the pan and heated it gently. Next, she added the chopped onion and stirred it slowly with a wooden spoon.
The kitchen was starting to smell amazing. Her mom looked up from her book. Her dad came in from the garden. They both said, "Something smells wonderful."
And Rosie, without looking up from her pan, said, "I know. Thank you."
Completely unimpressed by the compliment. She was in chef mode.
Pure focus. I love it. Describe how to make something simple using sequencing words. Use first, then, after that, next. Write it in the comments.
Now, practice with us. Can you describe how to make a cup of tea, or any simple thing, using first, then, after that, and next? Pause and say it out loud. Your turn. Describe making a cup of tea. First, then, after that, next.
For example, first, boil the water. Then, put a tea bag in a cup. After that, pour the hot water into the cup. Next, wait for 2 minutes.
Perfect. That is beautiful, clear English. And you can use this structure for any set of instructions, not just cooking. Directions, recipes, stories, explanations. Sequencing words work everywhere. Okay, the onion was soft and golden in the pan. The tomatoes had been added. The sauce was simmering. The pasta was cooking in the pot. And now we reach our final sequencing word, and perhaps the most satisfying one.
Finally.
Finally. We use finally to signal the last step, the end of the sequence. After all the previous steps, this is the moment of completion, of arrival, of finishing.
Finally has a feeling of relief and satisfaction built into it. When you say finally, the listener knows the journey is almost over. We are nearly there.
For example, first, Rosie cooked the onion. Then she added the tomatoes and garlic. After that, she stirred the sauce and let it simmer. Next, she cooked the pasta until it was soft. Finally, she served dinner.
5 steps. First, then, after that, next, finally. A complete sequence, a complete story.
And the moment Rosie said, "Dinner is ready," let's hear it.
She called her parents into the kitchen. She had set the table herself. Plates, forks, napkins, even a small candle in the middle.
A candle. She set a candle on the dinner table.
She said, "I wanted it to feel special."
I cannot. I absolutely cannot. That is the sweetest thing.
Her mom and dad sat down. Rosie brought the pasta to the table in a big bowl. She stood at the end of the table, a little nervous, watching them take their first bites.
Oh, that moment when you cook for someone and you watch them try it for the first time. Your heart is just waiting.
Her dad took a bite. He chewed slowly. He looked at her, and then he said, "Rosie, this is the best pasta I have ever eaten in my life."
And Rosie?
She sat down, took a big forkful of pasta, and said, "I know, Dad. I used garlic."
She remembered the garlic after all. She was right to put it in.
Her mom was laughing and crying at the same time. Happy tears.
Happy tears. Those are the best kind. When something is so lovely, it makes you emotional.
The candle was lit. The pasta was warm. The family was together. And Rosie, 8 years old, paint-stained hands, tomato sauce on her chin, was completely and utterly happy.
Finally, dinner. Finally, success. Finally, a moment this family will never forget.
And now, your turn. Tell us something you did step by step. Use all 5 sequencing words. First, then, after that, next, finally. It can be anything. Cooking, getting ready in the morning, going somewhere. Write it in the comments right now.
Time for common mistakes. These are the mistakes I hear most often with sequencing words, and I promise, once you know them, you will never make them again.
Mistake number 1. Using finally for something that just happens soon, not at the end. Some learners say, "First I woke up. Finally I had breakfast." But finally should come at the last step, not just after the first one. If breakfast is only your second step, use then. First I woke up, then I had breakfast.
Finally is for the end of a sequence. The last step, the completion. Save it for the finale.
Mistake number 2, forgetting the comma. When first, then, after that, next, and finally come at the beginning of a sentence, they need a comma. First, comma, Rosie washed her hands. After that, comma, she chopped the onion. The comma is a small thing, but it makes your writing much cleaner.
Think of the comma as a small breath, a tiny pause that tells the reader, the sequence word is done, now here comes the action. Mistake number 3, using at the end instead of finally. Some learners write, at the end she served dinner. This is not wrong, but finally is more natural and more commonly used for the last step in a sequence. Finally, she served dinner. It sounds more fluent.
At the end is fine, but finally is the native speaker's choice for the last step.
Mistake number 4, writing the sequence words without clear steps. Sometimes learners write, first I was tired, and then I was happy, and after that I went to sleep. But the steps are not clear. They are feelings, not actions. Sequencing words work best with clear actions. First I went to bed. Then I read for 10 minutes. After that, I turned off the light. Finally, I fell asleep.
Each step is a clear, concrete action. That is when sequencing words really shine. Which mistake do you think you might make? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Be honest. Write it in the comments. Which of these mistakes might you make? Tell us in the comments. Number 1, 2, 3, or 4. Knowing your weakness is the first step to fixing it. And there is absolutely no shame in making mistakes. Every person who speaks English fluently made every one of these mistakes first. Mistakes are not failure, they are progress. Practice time! I will give you a set of jumbled steps. You put them in the right order using sequencing words. Say your answer out loud.
Here are the steps for making a simple omelette, but they are in the wrong order. Listen carefully. Number 1, eat the omelette. Number 2, crack 2 eggs into a bowl. Number 3, cook the egg mixture in a pan. Number 4, beat the eggs with a fork. Number 5, add a little salt.
What is the correct order? Pause the video and put them in sequence using first, then, after that, next, finally. Pause. 5 seconds, then listen to the answer.
The correct sequence is: first, crack 2 eggs into a bowl. Then, add a little salt. After that, beat the eggs with a fork. Next, cook the egg mixture in a pan. Finally, eat the omelette.
Perfect! Did you get it right? That is brilliant if you did. And if not, that is completely fine. Listen again and practice. Now, here is your creative challenge. Think of something you know how to make. Any food, any drink, anything at all. Describe how to make it using all 5 sequencing words. It can be as simple as a sandwich or a smoothie, or as complicated as your grandmother's special recipe. Use first, then, after that, next, finally, and write it in the comments. Describe how to make your favorite food, step by step. Use first, then, after that, next, finally. We will read every comment. We genuinely love reading your comments. They make us so happy, and your English is always better than you think it is. So write something, anything, and we will celebrate it. What a beautiful episode. A little girl with paint-stained hands and a handwritten recipe, a candle on the dinner table, the best pasta Dad had ever eaten, and a family moment that none of them will ever forget.
And such important, practical English. Let me summarize what we learned today. Number 1, first. Use it to begin a sequence. It signals the starting point. Number 2, then. Use it for the next step immediately after the first. Number 3, after that. Use it when one step is finished and the next one begins. Number 4, next. Use it to keep the sequence moving forward. Number 5, finally. Use it for the very last step, the completion, the ending, the arrival.
And the grammar rule. When these words come at the start of a sentence, always use a comma after them. First, comma. Then, comma. After that, comma. Next, comma. Finally, comma.
These 5 words will transform the way you tell stories in English. They will make your speaking and writing clearer, more organized, and much more natural.
Final question. Tell us about the first time you cooked something. Use sequencing words. First I, then I, finally I. And our final question. Tell us about the first time you cooked something. Use sequencing words. What did you make? How did it go? Write it in the comments. We cannot wait to read your cooking stories.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a like. It truly helps Simple English Talks reach more learners. Share it with someone who is learning English, and subscribe if you haven't already. New episode every week. You are doing something wonderful by being here and listening. Every episode, every sentence, every word, it all adds up. Be proud of yourself. You are growing every single day. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time.